The Art of Leadership Network.
Hey leaders, welcome to the Lead Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jenni Catron, CEO of the Foresight Group. We're a company dedicated to helping leaders develop thriving teams. Each week, I'll be your guide as we explore practical strategies to equip you with the tools you need to lead with clarity, confidence, and build unstoppable momentum in your organization. My mission is to be your trusted coach, empowering you to master the art of self-leadership so you'll learn to lead yourself well so you can lead others better. Each week, we take a deep dive on a leadership or a culture topic. You'll hear stories from amazing guests and leaders like you who are committed to leading well. So let's dive in and keep learning on this leadership journey together. Well, friends, welcome back to the Summer of Leadership series. I have loved this series, and I hope it's been really practical for you because we're just looking at these core culture building skills, these skills that every leader needs to lead well and build a culture that is helping your team grow, thrive, and be unstoppable. And sometimes these feel like just the simple, practical, they're not easy to do, but they are really core to being a healthy leader and leading a healthy team. And so today we're going to talk about the topic of delegation. And I mentioned last week that I was like, this one's going to be a bit of a doozy because oftentimes as leaders, we struggle to delegate well. And there's a few different reasons for that. We're going to get into it. We're going to look at it. And I'm going to give you a very simple framework today to help you evaluate what to delegate and whom to delegate it to. This I have found to be really, really helpful, both for myself, but then for the teams that we're working with to help the whole team kind of evaluate what they perhaps should be delegating. So delegation is going to be more about a shift in perspective and how letting go of tasks is helping develop our teams. So it really is, as with a lot of these skills, there's a lot of mindset shift. Like we have to force ourselves to think a little differently in order to lead better. We've been talking about foundational leadership skills this summer, and delegation is one we know we need, but we often avoid it. It's tempting to see delegation as a way to get tasks just off our plate, right? Like kind of just get rid of stuff. But it's actually a tool to develop our people. And when we have that mindset that delegation isn't about just getting rid of stuff, it's really about developing people, I think our perspective on it changes and our capacity to do it well increases. Delegation isn't about doing less. It's about investing more intentionally. So let's look at just a couple of reasons why delegation is hard, even for seasoned leaders. I feel like this is one of those things that you just kind of, you learn and improve on, and then you hit another lid on it. And you've got to push through and grow again. I feel like that's the case with delegation. And I think there's a few different traps that we fall into. The first one is the pride trap, that no one can do it like I can. Right? So we think we're the only one that can do it this way. And guys, I am guilty of this all the time, that I feel like, well, gosh, I'm the only one who can. And so if you ever like hear yourself, or, even subconsciously saying something like, I'm the only one that knows how, or I'm the only one who can do this, just push yourself on that because it potentially is a little bit of a pride trap. Another trap for us is the guilt trap of, I don't want to put more on my team. I do this one often as well, of I'm conscious of everybody's workload, and so I don't want to add to it. So then I feel guilty if I delegate more to them. And then the third one is the control trap, is it's just easier if I do it. And what I really mean is I just want to do it, or I don't want anybody else to do it. So I'll say it's just easier if I do it. But leaders, you know this. When we hold on to everything, we limit our leadership and we also limit our team's potential. in many ways, they are eager to grow. They are looking for you to give them meaningful work. The other challenge sometimes is that we will delegate things that are not very, and there are things that we need to engage that are not like, exciting projects, but they just need to be delegated. But if we're also not delegating meaningful work, we're not developing the potential of our team. We're not giving things that help them rise to the challenge and grow into a new opportunity. So let's dig into this just a little bit more, because leaders really do empower others by delegating, right? It's one of our greatest growth tools. The problem with delegation is that most leaders approach it from what I think are kind of two extreme and pretty unhelpful perspectives. First, some of us delegate to get stuff just off our plate, right? We're just like, I just got to get rid of this. Who can I give it to? And essentially, it's really all about me as the leader when I do that. I'm just saying, I've got to get this off my plate. Who can I give it to? And I am very me focused. While sometimes that's just a reality, it kind of lacks the spirit of delegation. And then on the other extreme is we're afraid to delegate because we aren't comfortable asking others to do the thing, right? So again, it's kind of all about us, because I'm uncomfortable asking somebody to do something. And so I'm avoiding that discomfort. So in both of those cases, on those extremes, I'm either just dumping stuff or I'm not giving away stuff. And both of them are very me-centric. But delegating well requires a better perspective on the purpose of delegating. And this is what I want you to lean into today, is the purpose for delegation. And I think it serves two very important purposes. The first of which is to create an opportunity to grow the skills of your team members and foster an environment for coaching and developing. It's an opportunity to delegate something to another person that creates a growth opportunity for them. And it is also helping take something off of your plate. But it's really more about, how can I delegate this to somebody who it's going to create a growth opportunity for, and I can coach them and I can support them and I can help them grow by giving them this new responsibility. And then the second important purpose is it forces you to consider what you need to let go of. Again, this kind of pushes on that control freak in us, right? Of like, hey, what do I actually need to let go of? Because it's actually inhibiting me from perhaps doing something that would have greater impact or I need to grow in, right? Like sometimes leaders, friends, we hold on to stuff because it's comfortable. I know how to do it. And I feel busy and I feel productive and I feel valued and I feel significant because I'm doing the thing. When in fact, I might need to actually be letting go of that thing and giving somebody else the opportunity to grow into it so that I can stretch and grow into the next thing. And so we've got to be forced to consider, what do we need to let go of to make room for new responsibilities that we can take on and we can grow from. So the growth, like at the heart of delegation, is the perspective shift we need to have, that it's both growth for others and it's growth for ourselves. And when we bring that perspective to it, I think some of the other things that we get trapped by, the control, the guilt, the pride traps that we can get kind of caught up in, I think those get diminished when the purpose for delegation is so much more clear. Delegating done well allows team members at every level to continue to increase their capacity and their skill set. Everybody grows as we get better at delegating. And as with much of what we've named so far, your organizational clarity work, like that clarity you've done around roles, responsibilities, org chart, etc., will do the heavy lifting and helping you define what needs to be delegated, right? Like when those things are clear, when organizational clarity exists in your organization, it is much easier to identify what we need to delegate. But beyond that, even you want to look for opportunities to grow the skills and the capacity of your team by delegating projects that will stretch them. So I want to give you this tool that I have used both for myself. And it's funny, you guys, I can remember very specifically sitting in my office in Nashville when I was on church staff there. And our team was growing rapidly. We were in a really busy season of growth. And I can remember sketching this on my whiteboard. And I don't know if I had picked it up from somewhere else. So I don't know necessarily if there's somebody to attribute it to, or if it was just kind of one of my random musings. I'm a working genius. I'm invention and discernment. And so it's not uncommon for me to pull out the whiteboard and just kind of map out some new framework that I've had in my head. But I can remember doing this on the whiteboard that day because I felt so much overwhelm and I knew that I needed to delegate more things. I knew I needed to develop more of my team, but I was just a little stuck on what to delegate and who to delegate it to and even how to go about it. You ever felt those seasons of like, something needs to change, but you can't quite, you're just so overwhelmed, you don't know what to do first. And so this is what I sketched out on my whiteboard that day. And then it's become a tool that I use repeatedly. And now I use with teams as we're working with them. But I simply call it only, could, must. Only, could, must. And to start this exercise, so I actually want you to do this. Like if you're in a place where you can get out a pen and paper, and I like a good old-fashioned pen and paper, but you could also do it on your computer, whatever works for you. But I want you to create 3 columns. And I want you to label the columns from left to right. On the left, only I can do is your first column on the left. The middle column is I do, but I could delegate. I do, but I could delegate. And then the third column is I must delegate. So from left to right, the first column is the things only I can do. The middle column is the things I do, but I could delegate. And then the far right column is the things I must delegate. Now you get it. You're already seeing it, but let me kind of describe these for you a little bit. That first column is the things that only you can do. These are the responsibilities that are core to your job. Like these are really core. If you don't do these things, like that's a problem. For example, at Foresight, only I can set the vision and the direction for the organization. That's my primary responsibility as the founder and CEO. So this first column is an opportunity for you to get really honest about where your best energy and your efforts need to be directed. By the way, this should probably be a very short list. There are probably just like 3 to 5 really key things that you do and only you can do inside of the organization. This is really core to your role and to your wiring, to your responsibilities. So you want to make sure you're not hoarding tasks here just because they feel good, which we're also sometimes guilty of. These are the things that really, truly, if people said, you weren't here, these things would suffer because these are so core to your role and to how you're wired up. So those are the things only you can do. And again, it's only a few things, right? Really, really, really focused list. In that middle column is where you identify the things that you currently do, but you could delegate in the near future. Maybe there's a team member you're developing and you see a pathway to develop or to delegate a project to them. Or perhaps you have a new hire on the horizon that you'll be able to delegate some work to. The purpose of this column is to help you pay attention to tasks and responsibilities that eventually need to move off of your plate to give you more margin for the items in your first column. So again, this middle column is things that you're doing. And it's not like it's urgent that you get them off your plate, but you see pathways for them to move off. You see, maybe if you've done really good org chart work, you've got your 5-year plan and you've got the org chart for 5 years from now. And you see how a core chunk of your responsibilities is going to separate out into a new role or a new department or something. And so you're doing them and you can do them for a while, but you see the pathway for growth. And part of the reason why I want you to do this is I want you to see that pathway for growth. It's kind of inspires some hope, right? That it's like, okay, these things are on my plate, but in order to create more margin for the things that only I can do, I got to have an eyeball on the things that eventually need to move. And when we have an awareness on that, we're on the lookout for where they can go. We're noticing people that have propensity towards a skill set or interest in an area of the work that you're like, oh, well, maybe that could go there. Oh, maybe that person could develop into this. And so that development eye is open when we've got this visibility in front of us, right? So these are tasks that could be shared after training or trust is built. This is your stretch zone where you grow your team and your leadership margin. So this middle column is really powerful. And I want you to spend a good amount of time here because it's a really important just visibility to what you're doing and how you could, again, grow your capacity and grow others. And then that third column is the things that they should embarrass you slightly, right? If you had to tell me that you were doing these things, you'd be like, yeah, I'm still doing these things. And I know I should delegate them and I know I should give that away, and you'll have all kinds of excuses. These are the pet projects or tasks that you hold on to because you're just a little too stubborn. That might be me. Or controlling to release them. And you're going to have all kinds of excuses and reasons. But friends, it comes down to you're either too stubborn or too controlling most of the time to give these things away. In truth, these are often low-level tasks that make us feel like we've at least gotten something done today. Have you ever done that? Maybe this will happen to me. If I'll have a really busy week and everything will feel out of control because maybe I've been traveling. This was actually true of this week. Traveling for 3 of the 5 days of the week. I come back, I'm traveled Monday to Wednesday. I come back on Thursday and it's jam-packed meetings all day long. And I get to Friday and Friday's not quite as busy, but I feel all of these things that I need to be getting done. And what do? I start the day filling it with low-level tasks because I just want to feel like I did something. And I'm not saying that that's entirely wrong because sometimes we need that to get us motivated. But if that's our go-to, if we busy ourselves with low-level tasks because it makes us feel good, we need to evaluate it. It could be things like booking travel or checking email or organizing things, which again, not all of those things need to be done. And sometimes there are parts of it that you need to do. But when you have people who could do this work for you and you're doing it at the expense of something that's in the first 2 columns, that's a caution flag. Right? So most of the time, the things that are in your third column are the ones that you would kind of be a little embarrassed if you had to show me the list. And again, this is important visibility. We need to be conscious of the places where we give a lot of our time and energy that's not our best use. That first column is your highest and best use. It's your highest and best contribution to the organization. That third column is not your highest and best use. And so you need to be really conscious of when you're spending time over here. These are tasks that are draining your capacity and or may no longer fit your role. These are the things that are costing you and your team, and holding on to them is hurting more than it's helping. You're actually creating busy work. It might be creating distraction for you. You'll fill in the blank, but I want you to build out that list. And then I want you to immediately determine how you can delegate the things in your third column. Because the power of this 3-column activity is that it gives you visibility and vision for making delegating a normal part of your leadership. If every team member at every level is creating this list, so imagine this, you guys, if every person on your team did this 3-column list and they had more awareness and more visibility of the things that only they can do, this is my highest and best contribution. This is where I need to give my best energy. And then here's my middle column of the things that I do, but I could delegate sometime. Then they've got a development eye. Then they're looking at it going, okay, how can I develop others and grow capacity? Maybe where can I recruit an intern to help with some of these things? Same thing with the must delegate column. It's like, okay, what do we do about these things? And I'm not suggesting that there's always an easy answer to this because I know that our budgets are tight and we don't always have margin or capacity and remember, we're not dumping, we're delegating. And that's very, very different. And it's very, very important because sometimes we want to just dump stuff off on other people. And that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm talking about getting really good visibility that every team member at every level, as they create these lists, they're making space to receive items from someone else, right? Because they're making adjustments. And so then there's this constant movement in the organization of things that are moving around for them to be on the best person's list. Not the best person, but the best person for that job is the person who's doing the job, if that makes sense. If you want a culture where leaders are being continually grown and developed, we have to create a culture where continual growth of adding and releasing work is a normal part of our rhythms. And I want you to hear that. Adding and releasing work is a normal part of our rhythms because we tend to hold on or hoard when we are not confident in our place in the organization. But if everybody is adding and releasing, everybody knows what they're getting off of their must delegate list and they know what they're taking on because they have the capacity or it's a growth edge for them. It's a really, really powerful perspective on delegating and will serve your team really, really well. So listeners, I want you to write out your list this week. Hopefully you did it even as we were talking, but I realize you might have been in the gym, you might have been driving, whatever the case might be. Carve out some time for building out these 3 columns and get your list. Look at your list and see it in front of you because I bet you're going to have some ahas. And if you do, I'd love for you to tell me. Like just email me at Jenni Catron at getforesight.com. I want to know, what did you learn about yourself as you did these lists? Then do this with your team. Maybe make it an all-staff meeting discussion and have everybody build their lists and see what they learn from it. And then revisit this framework quarterly. Like, this is a good tool because, again, part of what happens when we do this, and you want everybody to do their own lists, and then you can have conversations with your direct reports to talk about their lists and see if they evaluated themselves correctly. Because some people might put in their must delegate list some things that are just really core to their job. And you're like, well, you can't delegate that because that's actually something you need to do. So I'm not suggesting that everybody can write this and declare it and, just go on about their business. We all need to have the best interests of the organization in mind as we build out our lists. And then as managers, you can be having those one-on-one conversations to help coach through that. But this becomes a really, really powerful way for team members to help keep the most important things in front of them. That when they have to build these lists, they're forced to go, yep, this is my highest and best contribution. Here's how I need to be thinking about the things that I might be able to give away long-term. And here's things that's low-level work. We don't need you doing that. Actually, AI could do that. Or we have interns that could do that. Or there's somebody else on the team whose job responsibility that actually is, and you've been doing it. And so it's created confusion organizationally. You see how, by doing the exercise, it creates greater clarity and opens up conversations. And that's the power of it. So friends, I want you to reflect and I want you to take action this week. That simple tool, I think, will spark so many good conversations in your organization. So what are you holding on to that you need to let go? Who on your team is ready for more? And what's one thing you could delegate this week as a growth opportunity and not just something that you're giving somebody else to do, but you really see it as a growth opportunity for them? Consider those questions this week and take action on those. Friends, this all comes back to the importance of culture matters, and it's all baked into our lead culture framework, that if you want to build a thriving culture, delegation matters. We need people growing at every level of the organization, and we need to be leaders who know how to delegate well so that we're equipping people well. It's one of the ways that we live out clarity, trust, and a culture of development. And so I want to just encourage you that all of these little things are building your culture. The intentionality to these skills that we're talking about are building your culture if you're leaning into them. So delegation isn't letting go for the sake of ease. It's letting go for the sake of growth. Next week, we're going to talk about accountability. I'm telling you, these just get juicier every week. We're going to talk about accountability and how this is so critical to your culture, in that everybody understands who does what and what's important here. And they have this measure of accountability and accountability to one another. So we're going to dig into that. And if you're still not a part of our Summer Leadership Institute, it's not too late to get started. You can jump in now, and then by the end of October, be a better culture-carrying leader, more equipped to lead your team and accomplish the mission. And so if you've been enjoying these conversations, if they've been sparking curiosity and sparking an awareness of, gosh, there's some things I need to grow in. I've got to sharpen these skills a little bit more to be a great culture leader. The Summer Leadership Institute is a great way to do that. It is both a course with one-on-one coaching. So go to getforesight.com, GET, the number 4, SIGHT.com/ Leadership Institute. Getforesight.com/Leadership Institute, and you can check that out. Until then, friends, keep leading well. Your leadership matters. We need you leading well. We need leaders who are healthy and thriving and building, growing, thriving, and unstoppable teams. You don't have to do it all. You were never meant to. So keep learning and keep leading. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend, share it with your team, talk about it together. And then would you also rate and review it? That's so incredibly helpful and means so much to me. So keep leading well, delegate this week, build out that 3-column list and tell me how you did. And then I'll see you next week.